Welcome to another exciting episode of Purana Talk with Alan and Leon. We're
We're
reading.
back from spring break.
Yeah, well, we had to work for a few days. We're reading the Garuda Purana. We're in the Kanda 2, or chapter 19, which has been really about what happens when you die and afterwards.
Tonight's episode, Life After Death. The Lord said, assuming an airy form derived from his previous actions and suffering from hunger, he moves along with Yama, Lord of Death. There is a town of Chitragupta covering 20 yojanas. There the embodied beings observe their virtue and sin all around.
So death's escorting you.
Yes, apparently.
And where does he take you?
Well, a town called Chitragupta. Chitragupta. Which is like
a big town.
Yeah. 20 yojanas.
It's a long, big house.
It's not a house.
Well, tribal center, whatever it is, town, city. It's big, sprawling. Yojana's big, right?
Yeah, it's pretty big. Why am I so much bigger than you?
I'm feeling deflated. I don't know. It's fine.
There. It's a little better. I'm shrinking. Okay.
I told you it'd be exciting.
3. If he had made substantial gifts in his lifetime, he derives pleasure therefrom. From here, Vaivasvata town of Yama is situated at the distance of 24 yojanas. The residents of Vaivasvatapura are satiated by the gifts of iron, salt, cotton, and a vessel of jingeli seeds offered by the relatives of the deceased. The dead repair to Vaivasvata town and inform Dharmadhvaja, the keeper at Yama's gate, about the gifts. Dharmadhvaja is always present at the gate of Yama. And Dharmadhvaja is like Dharma banner, Dharma flag, Dharmadhvaja is pleased with the gift of 7 grains. Propitiated by that, he tells the dead about their virtues and sins.
This is where there's an outside opinion. You're not just self-judging. You're actually told by some, deific authority. This is where you went wrong there. This is where you did right.
Holy and pious people see Dharmaraja as a god of noble countenance, while the sinful and the wicked see him as a god of dreadful and terrible aspect. And Dharmaraja is a king of Dharma. But another name for Yama, and I think these are all names of Yama, but it's the keeper at Yama's gate, so I don't know that. But Dharmaraja may be Yama. 8. The deceased person is terribly afraid at his sight and laments bitterly. Those who have offered gifts in their lifetime should entertain no fear. Yama moves from his seat as soon as he sees a holy man. He thinks that he will supersede him in status and reach Brahmaloka. Virtue can easily be procured by offering gifts. The path to Yama's region can easily be traversed by acts of charity. This highway cannot be easily covered otherwise. Oh dear, none can reach the city of Yama without doing charitable acts. So, warning you, you should be doing charitable things while you're alive because it's going to make it easier on you after you die.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of blackmail.
Well, it's in a way. In another way, it's saying there's less to regret if you do the things that are really good to do, just in general. It's been preaching this all along. It's been saying, do the right thing, and then you won't have anything to feel bad about.
All right.
So I know it's kind of,
11. That dreadful path is full of terror-striking servants of Yama. Each of the cities is guarded by 1,000 of these servants. The messengers of Yama torture the sinner in hot waters and take off his skin till he becomes a skeleton. 13. The deceased, for whom no obsequial rites have been made, traverse the path with great difficulty. They are led like animals bound with ropes. The person may become a god, a mare, a man of low species, or as Yama ordains, he may attain salvation, or be born as a human being, as a son to his father. Joy. He obtains birth according to his activities. He passes through a series of births in this world. Knowing that even the highest happiness is none eternal, he should perform acts of righteousness when he has received a human body. You have this incarnation, don't waste it.
Mm-hmm.
Human body is either reduced to worms, ashes, or feces, which is to say it's put in the earth, it's burned in the cremation ground, or it's fed to animals.
Right.
Though he carries a lantern in hand, he may fall in a dreadful hell full of darkness. He can acquire a human body as a result of his pious acts. He who performs holy deeds in human body acquires supreme position. If he neglects dharma, he comes to grief. The soul obtains human body after passing through series of births. O bird, in human body too, his birth as a Brahman is a rare event. He who observes vows natural to his caste becomes immortal after death by the blessing of God. End of chapter 19.
So there's a few things that are kind of interesting here.
Yeah, one is he's talking to this bird and he's telling them how great it is to be born in a human body, and this bird's going, well, what am I,
Well, he's
Garuda.
Bird.
Yeah, he's a very divine bird.
Divine bird.
Is he? It just raises questions.
I think, you have to remember that a lot of this is being explicitly said to Garuda.
By Vishnu.
By Vishnu or Shiva or whoever it is
Vishnu
speaking. But Vishnu most of the time. And it seems to me that sort of what they're laying out is that the offerings done after death by your relatives, which is basically a way to get them to pay the priest to do a series of rituals with you for a fee, I think. And that depending on how that gets accomplished, how well that gets done, determines what the afterlife experience for the person being remembered is.
Right.
And so they're laying out all the details about how that works. And so the biggest question in my mind is just, does this serve some useful function for the family that are going through this process? And because that might justify doing it. But
otherwise,
I find the ethics of it a little shaky, otherwise. And so, what I wonder is, like, for the grieving family doing these rituals for the 20 days or whatever it is, and like there's the 1 year anniversary, there's something done, but then right at the beginning, the first 11 days, I think it was really important. There were rituals to do every day, pindas to offer and stuff. So if you had a culture that was all doing that, would that do something for you psychologically? Would it help you with this transition?
I would think so.
And if it does, then it's justified. I think.
It's. Death rituals tend to offer some sort of closure and.
Right, and the cremation is one thing because they gave a big process for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that is when these 11 days go, right?
Yeah.
And they have you go through a certain process. So it's very interesting, and I find it a bit morbid, but
Literally.
it's part of life, is dealing with death. If you're not going to hide it away like we do in the West and keep it behind closed doors, it's like it becomes almost an occult secret here, what that's all about. But in India, you see dead people more often. Like as we got closer to Varanasi, there were more and more bodies.
Oh yeah, this was my on my very first visit to Varanasi with my mother, who came over to make sure that I had arrived in India in one piece and to see a little bit herself. We flew into Varanasi, and I just remember taking the taxi from the airport to the hotel, and on the highway, we kept passing people bringing bodies into town, some carrying them physically as we got closer to town, but on carts, often, but clearly bodies. They were wrapped in bright red and glittery colored cloth and bound, and there were flowers, and they were body shaped, so it was clear to me, although I didn't quite know all the significance at that time because I was a newbie. Okay. There's more?
Well, I just sort of remember that there are stages that we went through here, even in this chapter. They have Yama take you to the various cities. That was where it started. And then you had your sort of last judgment scene thing where you, they told you what you'd done right and what you did wrong. Just to make sure.
They're kind of going over the same ground over and over in some ways.
Yeah, but this thing of God telling you that you did the right thing or not, that happened this time, that I don't remember that happening before. And then they explained sort of that you would have a bunch of incarnations, but many of them might be less evolved creatures, and that if you were good in these lesser evolved incarnations, that you might get a human body. That was, I think that was information.
Really, really good, you would be born a boy, the son of a Brahmin father.
Right. And would have all the rituals from then on. It's like, oh boy. So it was just sort of interesting how it was laying out how you might wind up in these various situations.
Yep.
That's all.
That's all.